So I've gone through and counted exactly how much each one of these decks costs that I've built my 7 that I have so far. And they're pretty cheap. So I think overall I've spent maybe 4 ticks buying the cards for all my decks total. But that's because I already had cards and whatnot. So the Affinity deck, which might be the most powerful deck uninterrupted, although you are running all those islands, so Boyle's in the format. So, though you can still win or do well without the islands. I mean, if you got a bunch of talismans out and whatnot, you can survive. The Affinity deck is $3.29 or 3.29 ticks total. So it's definitely very cheap. And that's not counting the islands, obviously. And it means that you're buying the cheapest version of everything. But that's it. So I think the most expensive thing in this deck is the Battlecan Archmages, which are 15 cents each, I think. And then Crumb Scales are like 8 cents. That's it. There might be some 10-cent uncommons, I don't know. I don't think so, though. So, yeah, very cheap. So we got my Astral Rift deck. I think this is my cheapest deck. Yeah, by a little bit. Not very much, but this is my cheapest deck. And it is 2.65 ticks. So that's pretty dumb, right? Pretty cheap. I don't think anybody can complain about that. Most expensive cards are, I think, like the Astral Slide, which is like 10 cents or 8 cents. And Endless Swarm. No, Endless Swarm is the most expensive card, but there's only one of them, and that's 20 cents. And yeah, so it's just not a very expensive deck. This one deals well with a lot of different kinds of decks. It's a good metagame choice against the beatdown decks for various reasons, mostly because there's so many main deck hate cards against them. And then once it gets going, like, they just can't do anything because you kill all their creatures. See, try another one. Control. So this is the blue-black control deck, right? Runs the most Terramorphics, runs Draina and Sphinx, and Conundrum Sphinx, Arexial, a bunch of counter spells and whatnot. And that one is 3.75 for this one. So this is on the high end or the middle end of the decks. No, it's in the middle. This is a middle costed deck. So, but still 3.75 is pretty cheap. So I've got Enchantress. Enchantress is the most expensive of my decks by far. And that's just because it runs so many rares. And one of those rares that it runs a 4 of are 20 cents each, which is the Core Spirit Dancers. Let's see, and that one is 5.23 ticks. So still not a crazy amount, 5.23, 3.75, 2.65. Pretty negligible. But yeah, I guess you could buy 2 of my Astral Slide decks for this deck. But yeah, pretty cheap. So this is the top end so far that I've found. I'm sure it's possible for a good deck to cost more, but it hasn't occurred to me yet to build. So there's that one. So 5.23 for that one. Then we've got Goblins. And Goblins was very middle of the road, and that's 3.46 for Goblins. With all the goodness of Goblins. Okay, so there's that one. So So 3.46, pretty cheap. Lando, or Lando Calrissian here. Lando is also middle of the road. It's 3.76. It's the one that runs Magnivores and a bunch of land destruction and a bunch of sick cards. Scorched Earth. And then we've got, so that was 3.76, very cheap. Merfolk is almost our cheapest deck. It's our second cheapest. It's also probably one of the best decks. And that's 2.86. So some very good cards, but it doesn't run a lot of rares. That's why it's cheap. Just has the sovereigns basically. So, and then everything else is common, uncommon, and cheap, common, uncommon, right? So 2.86. So very cheap. But a wide variety. You don't see a lot of the same cards being played in deck after deck. There's some consistencies, like I play Force Spike in a lot of decks. Spell Pierce makes a lot of sideboards or main decks, stuff like that. But not too much. Let's see, Jeweled Amulet makes a lot of the decks, I guess. Boil makes a lot of sideboards. Choke. Things like that. But yeah, so this is a format that, while not that many people are playing it, and you may feel like, hey, I don't want to invest a lot in this format if people aren't going to play it, there really isn't a lot of investment. Like, if you can find one person to play this with, it sounds like a deal to me, you know. A format where you can build really good decks for, you know, only a few ticks, right? And there's certainly fun cards that you're buying and putting in your collection, and you'll probably use over and over again. Well, in this format anyway. It's really fun because, like, all the annoying cards that you see all the time in all the other formats, including Pauper, it's much cheaper than Pauper. There are easily like $80, $100 decks in Pauper. So don't imagine that Pauper is really that cheap a format. And generally, the more expensive the deck is in Pauper, the better it is. Although there's some leeway there, right? And then you're going to see like the same Goblins deck over and over again. You're going to see the same Storm deck, you know, over and over again, etc., etc. So the same blue-black control deck. I just think this is a really fun format, and I don't think Standard or Block or Extended or Legacy really have anything on this format. I think this format's just better. You don't have the really fast starts that just make the game really swingy, you know, where they kill you so fast that you didn't have a chance to do anything, and both players didn't get to see a lot of cards. You know, you don't have those combo decks. The good burn spells like Lightning Bolts, you know, Fire Rift. Anyway, the fast burn cards, most of them are banned. You know, you do have some pretty fast decks, so it's not like really slow where it's just going to be like, oh my god, you know, let me finish this game, right? It's a format that rewards synergy. It rewards players, you know, thinking about it and being intelligent, being good deck builders, and having an awareness of a lot of formats, a lot of sets, a lot of cards, and patience looking through those cards. Eventually what we'll do, once the format gets more popular, is we'll move it to where we legalize the cards at the beginning of every month, and then at the beginning of the next month all new cards are banned and made legal. So you'll be able to rely on cards being legal for 1 month, and then play with your cards as well as you can, and then if cards get banned because they're popular in the format, well, that'll just keep the format vibrant and dynamic. You know, the best deck from last month may not be legal anymore, so you may have to play a different deck. I don't see how that's a bad thing. So, you know, if you see me online, Chaos Legend, buddy me, send me some tales, we'll play some games. I'll make some YouTube videos of us playing, etc. And just look forward to playing a lot of budget constructed. C3POS is just the best thing on MTGO right now, I think, in my opinion, even not being very popular yet. Those of us that do play it are really enjoying it, and I want you guys to join us. Anyway, talk to you later. Have a good one.